It's hard to imagine, but in a town known more for its mysterious skies and tales of UFOs, the real horror came not from above but from below. Picture this: a family of 7, trapped, surrounded by a wall of water, waiting to be rescued. A sheriff, stranded on the roof of his submerged truck, shivering in the cold, pleading with his community to stay indoors. And amidst it all, 2 lives lost, countless others clinging to survival. This is the tragic story of Roswell, New Mexico, swept away by the most devastating flash floods the city has ever seen. Over the weekend, Roswell, New Mexico, a city synonymous with extraterrestrial lore, faced a catastrophe grounded firmly on Earth. Record-breaking rainfall turned streets into rivers, submerging homes and sweeping away vehicles in a disaster that left the city's residents struggling to grasp the extent of the devastation. In just one day, 5.78 inches of rain fell, a new all-time daily record for the area, surpassing the previous record set over a century ago in 1901. The floods claimed the lives of 2 people, while hundreds more were left stranded. New Mexico State Police confirmed the tragic deaths as emergency crews raced against time to save others. The New Mexico National Guard stepped in, deploying swift water rescue teams to help pull survivors from the deluge. It was a night of relentless rescue efforts, with helicopters and boats working through the darkness. In total, 290 people were rescued, a number that speaks to both the ferocity of the flooding and the bravery of the first responders. Among them was a family of 7, who found themselves encircled by rising waters, unable to escape. They were saved by the swift action of rescuers, their harrowing ordeal a stark reminder of the deadly power of these floods. Sheriff Mike Harrington of Chavez County found himself in an equally perilous situation. As the floodwaters rose, his vehicle was swept away. Stranded on the roof of his truck, he posted a video from the scene, urging residents to stay off the roads and remain indoors. His voice, shaky from the cold, echoed the desperation that had gripped the city. "I'm completely surrounded by water at this time," he said, as his truck bobbed helplessly in the flood. "Be careful, be safe. I'm waiting until the water goes down." The record-breaking rainfall in Roswell was just part of the story. In surrounding Chavez County, 9 inches of rain fell in some areas, overwhelming drainage systems and causing the Spring River to overflow. The normally serene waterway turned into a raging torrent, flooding downtown Roswell and leaving businesses and homes submerged. The rainfall not only set records, but also left a permanent scar on the community. The flooding devastated infrastructure, closing essential public facilities, including the municipal court, library, and local museum. The city's convention center and even the cemetery were left underwater, as residents grappled with the sheer scale of the disaster. Many would return to find their homes and cars damaged beyond recognition, while others waited in temporary shelters, unsure of what remained of their lives before the flood. As the floodwaters surged, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham issued a heartfelt plea for caution. "Thank you to the New Mexico National Guard for stepping up to assist those who need it in the aftermath of historic flash flooding in Roswell," she said, urging residents to stay off the roads and follow the instructions of local authorities. The governor's message was clear: lives depended on it. The response from state officials and emergency services was swift, but it couldn't prevent the tragic loss of life or the widespread destruction. From washed-out roads to submerged vehicles, the aftermath was a chilling testament to the unstoppable force of nature. The disaster in Roswell is just the latest in a string of extreme weather events that have plagued New Mexico in recent years. From flash floods to wildfires, the state has become increasingly vulnerable to the kinds of natural disasters that are expected to intensify as the planet warms. Scientists have long warned that climate change would lead to more frequent and severe weather events, and Roswell's flooding was a brutal confirmation of those predictions. In July, neighboring Ruidoso was hit by flash floods just 2 weeks after devastating wildfires had scorched the landscape. The scars from those disasters are still fresh, and now, with Roswell's flooding, the sense of urgency to address climate change has never been stronger. As Major General Miguel Aguilar of the New Mexico National Guard noted, because of the previous flooding in Ruidoso, we have the experience and we're ready for this. We've worked all night and continue to work with swift water rescue teams and other partner agencies to help our fellow citizens get to safety. But the question remains, how many more of these disasters can New Mexico endure? As the waters began to recede, the people of Roswell were left to pick up the pieces. Many areas of the city were still underwater, with the Spring River remaining at dangerously high levels. In the hardest hit areas, homes were destroyed, businesses crippled, and lives upended. The recovery will be long and difficult. Emergency shelters have been set up for displaced families, and the city is working to restore power to the thousands still in the dark. Roads remain closed, and the full extent of the damage is yet to be determined. For many, the trauma of this disaster will linger long after the floodwaters are gone. Roswell, a city that once captivated the world's imagination with stories of the unknown, now faces a much more tangible and heartbreaking reality. 2 lives were lost, hundreds rescued, and an entire community left in mourning. As the cleanup begins, the people of Roswell are left with a haunting question. When will the next disaster strike? Because in this new era of climate uncertainty, it's no longer a matter of if, it's a matter of when.